Hello everyone, it's Omae and welcome back to the brand new video. Today I wanted to talk about the new Kizuna Clash sugo-fest with the new Saint Saturn and Mars, as well as the Valkyrie and Saint Jupiter. So there's a lot to consider here. This is for one a Kizuna sugo-fest, but the new debut legends are anniversary exclusive characters. Don't get it confused. We also have the new Doberman Kizuna rare recruit that is debuting here. We will have 3 parts, and overall I'm gonna evaluate each different part based on the anniversary exclusive legends available, Kizuna legends available, regular legends available, and then also very important, what both rare recruits for Kizuna Clash and also support rare recruits are going to be rate boosted, because it is very important to have some of these support rare recruits, and for some parts there's just way better support characters available compared to the other parts. Now remember, every single Kizuna Clash rare recruit and support rare recruit can be pulled on either part, but the rate boost is massive for these units, so it is quite important that you pick wisely. So first off, both the new Saint Saturn and Mars and Valkyrie and Jupiter are available on part 1. Part 2 has the Saint Saturn and Mars, and then part 3 has Valkyrie and Jupiter. When it comes to the anniversary exclusives, undeniably just part 1 is just the best, having both the Nustro versus Zoro, which is like easily a top 5 legend in the game, I would say right now. Just such a broken unit. And then also the Zoro versus Lucci, who is still just really powerful in both PvE and PvP. But when it comes to the other legends available here, I'm not 100% sure how good it is. For Kizuna Clash exclusives, there are a lot of misses here, but there are some really good characters here. The Doflamingo Pirates are still such a great character in Rumble, and overall just not a bad unit in just regular content. They have some really unique abilities here in their special ability. Of course, you can't run this unit alongside Rumble Legend Pika in Rumble, so do keep that in mind. If you are running the quick driven team, which usually does have Pika on it, you can't run this legend, even though they go really well on quick Rumble teams. So I mean, there are pros and cons to that unit. This is, I'm pretty sure, the first time they're debuting on a Kizuna sugo-fest as well. Bonnie Pirates is a bit of a miss. I do think they're quite underrated. They have some very unique effects. Like, this is like the most powerful form of utility in the game when it comes to captains, because it's not only reducing a burn or a debuff in general, but it's converting the debuff to a buff, which is just so powerful. We don't have a lot of units in the game that do this. She's also one of the few captains that actually charge the ship special to max at the start of the quest. On the top of my head, one of the only other characters to do this is the 10th anniversary Sai Shanks. But yeah, she's a very unique character, not good in Rumble, and also just rarely used in regular content. Sabo Bonnie, not a terrible unit for Rumble. They do provide some really powerful CT delay, and you can use them alongside the New Year's Int Kuma, since that unit works with any Bonnie character. So there is some usage for that character in Rumble, but generally not used. But they do also have a really powerful special ability to reduce despair, provide a massive damage reduction, a very strong chain boundary effect, and also a chain additive buff. Just generally a really powerful unit, and they can reduce any icon debuff. They can make one character immune to any status effect. So you could use this on your captain. Say you're running friend captain Emu. Emu himself is immune to despair, but your captain is not. So you can use this effect on your captain, and then both your units who are your captains can be immune to both special rewind, special bind, despair, etc. So this is easily one of the most powerful effects in the game. Units like Kizuna Legend Toki have this for 2 characters, but still it's really powerful, just even though they're boosting or providing that effect, that immunity to one character. Shiryu, I mean, he has captain action, which allows him to both ignore enemy damage reduction threshold, damage nullification, barriers, etc., but also defense up. So he just has innate value for captain action, being just such a powerful ability. He's definitely a character I would love to get my hands on. Whitebeard Memories, horrible unit. The Tobiropo, horrible. Otama, horrible. Don't worry about them. When it comes to the regular legends, we do have some really amazing characters here, like the Zoro's enemy Mihawk, as well as Alba. Both of them are incredible units. The Daz Bones is pretty bad though. We have Christmas Uta, Halloween Uta. We have the Quick Kuzan, but he's available from the story mode missions for free. Kid and Killer, also a really good character. They do really a lot of things with their super swap and their special. A really powerful sub. Of course, Alba. This is Emu from Timu, but he's also a really good character to run alongside Emu, if I'm being honest, because you run this guy as the captain, Emu as the friend captain, and even though you don't have Emu yourself, you still have both captains having immunity to these status effects, and very similarly to Emu as well, providing 2 turns of cooldown, special bind reduction, etc, etc. Just a pretty good character overall. But that's, I'd say, where the amazing characters end. Lilith is also pretty good, but everyone else is kind of a bum, especially units like Kanjuro, the Big Mom, Who's Who, all horrible units. Burgess is okay, not a bad unit at all. But yeah, overall, I'd say the regular legends are pretty powerful here. The Kizuna legends, half of them I would say are really good, but overall, none of them are like screaming out to me as characters you need. Anniversary exclusives, easily the best part. So there's a lot of bad here, but also a decent amount of good. Honestly, just for the fact that Nustro versus Zoro and the Zoro versus Lucio are available here, honestly, just that alone makes this part have such high value. But what about the Kizuna and support rare recruits that are boosted? So the new Doberman. Firstly, as a support, he can attach to Garp characters, mainly are going to be the main target here, and he'll just give a straight up final tap buff of 30%, so an extra 1.3x damage. And remember, the final tap buff isn't based on the amount of turns. It's not a 5-turn limit. It's just whenever you hit a 6th tap in a turn, this buff will dissipate, so you can keep this buff until the final stage and get an extra 30% damage on that final unit. So yeah, very powerful support, but also just a really good character in general. His special is providing the captain with 5 turns of cooldown. It's providing the despair reduction as well as enemy orb damage reduction, reducing incoming damage by 90%, evading death hits. Just in general, very unique character, but let's not really worry about him because he's rate boosted on every single part, right? So that really doesn't matter in this evaluation. But when it comes to this Doflamingo, he's just a really good unit overall. I've used him quite a bit. He does have the ability to become the captain in the middle of the quest, in which case he will reduce the middle and bottom row character special bind by 6 turns. Very interesting ability, and I'm pretty sure you do have the option to disable that at some point. And just generally, he's providing a lot of interesting buffs. The Kashi, this unit's really not that amazing. Of course, if you do have the Dory and Broggy from the regular standard pool, if you got them from limited tickets, etc., you can run this character with the Dory and Broggy batch, because those units really want a lot of giant characters, and Kashi here is one of the only good options besides that batch. The Oimo, the Dory, and the Broggy, and then you can run this Kizuna rare recruit Kashi as well. And then when it comes to the support rare recruits, probably the worst part, if I'm being honest. None of these characters are like broken, I would say, besides maybe Vivi. Even then, she's only reducing threshold by 2 turns. She does provide enemy resistance down, which is essentially an extra 1.1x damage for your strength, quick, and dex characters. Remember, resistance down goes through immunities as well. But yeah, overall, the threshold reduction is really good. It attaches to the core straw hats that were there on Alabaster. Just a really good support effect, probably the best one available here. Doll is very interesting. She's the only support character that allows you to extend attack boosts, or boosts by a turn, which is massive. Also end of turn healing, so if you have like the sword units who really want to work with massive amounts of turns of the end of turn healing buff, then this can really make a difference. She does attach to all of the main marine characters, so that's also really good, and also it's very easy to proc. All you need is an orb booster. But I wouldn't say she's necessary by any means. but that extension of the orb boost can make a very massive impact, and as I said, the only unit in the game to do that. When it comes to this Fukuro, he is a very niche one. He does attach to all of the CP9 characters, and when you do a damage dealing or percent damage dealing special, 3 turns for despair reduction, and then switch gauge reduction for quick and dex units by 1 switch. So overall, I mean, there are a decent amounts of characters that can be used with this, and it is 3 turns of despair reduction, but we do have a lot of despair reducing supports in the game already, and not as many units are benefiting from the support effect. I mean, we do have a lot of Stussies, but for instance, the treasure map legend Stussi does not do damage, so this will not work. The best characters to use this with would probably be the Khalifa Kizuna legend, which is available on this second part, as well as I think this Lucci as well does damage. Yeah, he does 2 million true damage, so this would work really well. But unfortunately, this Lucci already reduces. Oh wait, no, never mind. Yeah, this would be a great character to use that Fukuro support with, but definitely one of the more niche ones in my opinion. Kobe and Alvida, probably the worst character here. Just super niche. If you use a special to reduce poison effects, including poison slots, or to apply poison, any type of poison to the enemy, gives the enemy an 80% damage reduction for 6 turns. Now, this is only really good if you're using characters like the new Blackbeard, who provide the enemy damage reduction based attack boost from the EX Super. Otherwise, it's very hard to use, but it is the only support in the game to allow overhealing, which is really cool. Just very niche though. It does attach to all striker units, so but I've just never used it. It's just way too niche. I did pull them on their debut, but just not a really good unit overall. And then we have Van Ogre. This attaches to all Blackbeard power tags, which is really cool. And when you use a attack boosting special or an additive chain buff special, reduces attack down by 3, enemy defense up by 3, and then a minus 10% quick and int resistance to all enemies, and then also applies the damage reduction to the enemy, but now it's only 40%. Also, they added this now where he is providing the auto plus effect. You can use the super effect on stage 2. So they have added the auto plus effect to older rare recruits that didn't have it before, so that's pretty cool. I definitely think he is a very high value character, easy to proc, very powerful, irreplaceable effect. He does have the auto plus function as well, attaching to all Blackbeard pirate tags. Just, yeah, amazing character. So overall, I'd say the Van Ogre and the Vivi are the main ones you'd be looking for. The rest of them are a bit more niche, but still not terrible. But when you compare it to like part 2 here, it's like night and day. Every single one of these, I would say, is a must-have on part 2. But let's first discuss the other legends available on the second part. Okay, so first off, the Anni exclusives. This one is a bit of a train wreck, but both of these legends are very difficult to use. This Blackbeard and Kuzan is going to really need a lot of these tags to provide their effects. Just not a really wide variety of units that can be used with this character. He's a bit hard to use, but he's definitely not a terrible unit. But this Kaido and Big Mom, I would say, is a pretty bad unit. You need 5 or more Land of Wonder Arc, Animal Kingdom pirates, or Big Mom pirates on the crew for this unit to be even remotely good. But if you do meet that requirement, they will provide a self-proccing conditional attack boost, which is, I mean, yeah, for damage, increased damage taken, which is easily the best type of conditional boost. So very high potential, but it's just so hard to use them. They do have access to the rush potential ability, which is of course always going to be nice, but they are one of the worst ones. You have to be the last person to tap, or no, second tap of an attack to activate the Sugo Rush, but it is also very hard to proc this. Overall, just a very hard character to use, very awkward, also very hard to use in Rumble. You need very specific characters for the Slasher Striker team for this unit to be very good in Rumble, and even then, there are way better alternatives in Rumble than their team. But when it comes to the Kizuna units, I would say it's very powerful. Now, most people would say the Shaka and the Vegapunk Stella are pretty bad, but in my opinion, these units are very underrated. This Vegapunk actually has like one of the most powerful captain utilities in the game: paralysis and bind reduction by 10 turns whenever inflicted, 2 turns of cooldown, so very good for speed farming. Unfortunately only really good with mono cerebral, but generally just really powerful unit, I would say. Definitely worth having. The Shaka unit, I think this unit's also very underrated. You get defense down to 0-3 immunities, a chain multiplicative buff. You can use this character special multiple times, and it is going to reduce your Vegapunk character's cooldowns by 15 turns, which is pretty massive. They also provide the set target status, so just generally they're doing a lot of unique things that are very hard to replace. I've used this character before quite a few times. A lot of people hate this legend for some reason, but I think he's really good. Also a really nice support, especially for the new PKA Stella in the unsuper evolved form. You can use this, of course not in the super evolved form, because Edison is a part of the unit, and the super evolution is Edison for that PKA Vegapunk. Besides that, I do think the Crocodile and Robin is not a bad character. I'd say they're a bit underused in regular content, but they can be really good in Rumble as well. They're one of those massive delay units for special CT reduction, but also just really unique kit when it comes to their special: poisoning enemies, reducing defense up by 10 turns, and then either providing you a color affinity or a chain boundary effect, which can be quite nice. It is quite a hard requirement for the latter part of the special, which will give the enemy the weakened status, but even then it's not going to go through immunities. Oh, it no wall, which is really powerful. There's like so few units in the game that allow you to actually give the weakened status through immunities. Like the only other character I can think of is the strength gear changing Gear 5 Luffy. But yeah, just a pretty interesting unit overall, a bit hard to replace on teams. And then we have my boy Vasco Shot. I think this unit's pretty good. He does have the double special activation, so in total he will reduce 6 turns of bind and damage reduction, but then will provide color affinity, enemy ignite status through immunities, which will allow you to get around resilience as well. He self-procs that conditional boost, because he does provide both the ignite and also the conditional boost for it. And then if you have 3 or more Blackbeard Pirates and you have below 50% HP, which is quite difficult, but you don't need that. You only need that if you want the ability to stack 2 conditional boosts. Remember, this buff only works if the conditional boosts are of 2 different type. But overall, just a really powerful unit overall. He once again has the ability to reduce pain, which is very rare. Not many captains reduce pain in their captain ability. And also, when you get inflicted with burn, poison, or progressive poison, then you get that converted into an orb boost. So very similar to the Bonnie I talked about from part 1, where he's not only just reducing status effects, he's also converting them to a buff, which is really good, right? And then also this Khalifa, who has a really powerful support attaching to all of the CP9 characters for paralysis and bind reduction. She's not that crazy in regular content, I would say, but still not a bad character to have. And once again, Vasco Shot also has a really powerful support ability, so has that going for him. But what about the regular legends? So Katarina Devon, Brook. I'll say Brook is still a really powerful unit. Yamato and Otama. This character no one talks about, but she's a beast alongside Nika Bonnie, because she will give you a full board of recovery orbs at the start of the quest, and if you keep those recovery orbs until stage 3, it'll be converted into Wano orbs. And then also when you have healed 50,000 or more above your max HP, so this doesn't require overheal buff. As long as you have healed 50,000 while you're at max HP, even if you don't get that as overheal HP, it still procs this and reduces attack down and special bind by 10 turns innately as a captain. Now, why is this so good with Nika Bonnie? Well, Nika Bonnie, once again, is cerebral, so there's good synergy here. But Nika Bonnie locks your slots by 10 turns at the start of the quest, so you can heal to your heart's content with these recovery orbs in the first 2 stages, and then you will have that utility of attack down and special bind, which Nikabani does not have in their kit. And then those recovery orbs will get converted into Wano, which will prevent you from getting bad orbs like paralysis, poison, super block, etc. Those will all be blocked. And of course, Wano orbs are the strongest orbs in the game. So very powerful synergy between these units. Paralysis reduction gets around the special rewind, provides a base attack boost, literally nothing that Nikabani does. So really powerful synergy. Be happy if you get this Yamato and Otama. The Brook is just a really well-rounded unit. Kuma, he's one of the only characters in the game to reduce blowaway by a certain amount of turns. Definitely not the greatest unit though. Katarina Devon, a bit of a disappointment if I'm being honest. Nami and Sanji, whatever. They only really work well if you have an overridable buff. Then their special will actually do a lot. But otherwise, they only do like one thing. It's their one-trick pony unit. Sword unit, really powerful, very underrated in my opinion. You can use this special multiple times in the quest. Also really good in Rumble. They do provide the confusion debuff to the enemy, which is still one of the most powerful debuffs in Rumble. Dofi Sugar, meh. Katakuri Oven and Brulee, good supportability. Other than that, very terrible unit if I'm being honest. But yeah, very powerful supportability. It allows you to get around enemy resilience and also gives you a chain buff. A chain boost, should I say, and it attaches to all Big Moms, all Smoothies, Perisperos, and Crackers. Really good supportability. Other than that, horrible Jack, horrible unit as a captain, terrible in Rumble, but pretty good special. Hawkins, trash. Sasuke, trash. Big Mom, trash. That's all you need to know, right? But when it comes to the Kizuna characters here, let me first talk about the support units, because every one of these is a banger. So while I'm talking about the Nikabani and how well Yamato and Otama synergizes with them, let's just talk about this Usopp support who works so well with Nikabani. So it attaches to all the base, all the straw hats, and if you use a special to delay the enemies, which Nikabani does that through immunities, changes crew slots to block. Now they might seem bad, but it is actually really good. And then will also heal 5% of your maximum HP, the best healing support in the game, locks Crucilos for a turn, and then gives you a 1.2x chain multiplicative buff for 2 turns. Only supported in the game to provide a chain multiplicative buff. Very, very powerful. Now you might be thinking, what are you going to do with the block orbs? Those are going to be locked for a turn. But you can run this incredible ship alongside Nikabani, and it actually works really well with them since they are an int unit. Megalo. If your captain is Sayo int, so Nikabani's int, it's just a really powerful ship. But then the special is only 8 turns, one of the lowest ship specials in terms of cooldown. It'll change block orbs into rainbow and will lock your slots for 2 turns. So essentially you get block orbs, you convert them into rainbow using the ship special, and since rainbow orbs cannot be removed or changed by the enemy, this will protect you from bad orbs like paralysis orbs, poison orbs, super block, of course, any kind of bad orb the enemy will give you. Of course, if you're running Nikabani as your captain, you get that 10 turn of a slot lock, so those rainbow orbs will carry over. Even if you're not running Nikabani as the captain, you still get that 2 turn of slot lock from the ship special, or just that 1 turn from the Usopp support itself. So I do think that's just a really powerful combination that you need to consider, right? But what about the actual main debut legend on part 2? What's better, to get the new Mars and Saturn or Valkyrie and Jupiter? Now, generally I would rather get the Valkyrie and Jupiter because they are very unique. It's going to be really difficult to replace them on teams because they get access to the ability of blowaway reduction, one of the hardest debuffs to actually negate in treasure cruise. But generally I would say Jupiter, and the Valkyrie is also going to be really good in Rumble. But the Saturn and Mars does have access to the Rush potential ability, which has such massive value, right? None of the anniversary characters up until this point have had a Rush. This is the only unit to have that, so massive value there. Of course, we have to consider, is the Saturn better than the Strength New Year Saturn? And I really wouldn't say that, which does lower this unit's value quite a bit. But this unit, I think, has a better special overall. 3 turns of barrier reduction, defense to 0-3 immunities, bind reduction by 7 turns, and then gives the enemy increased damage taken through immunities, which I think is way better than giving the conditional boost with the Valkyrie and Jupiter, because there are ways that, or situations where you won't be able to give the enemy the increased damage taken. The conditional boost will be useless, whereas this unit, that special is always going to be good. It's providing the territory effect, base attack boost buffs. Generally, I just think this unit is way more valuable. So I think part 2 is going to be better than part 3 in terms of the debut legend available. But besides that, the supporter recruits, Bonnie is probably the best support unit in the game right now. This unit is ridiculous. So she attaches to all of the worst generation as well as the stellar form of Vegapunk. So once again, a massive reason to keep an Super evolved form of the new PKA Vegapunk, because this Bonnie support only works on that form of Vegapunk. Now, whenever you inflict it with attack down, 3 turns of it reduced, and gives you a 1.75x universal color affinity. That is overrideable. Massive, massive detail. If you don't know, if a special states that if you have a color affinity, provides another buff, well, if you have this overrideable color affinity, and then you use that kind of special, you get both the color affinity from that unit, and also the other buff they would provide. So just generally, it's a really good color affinity that this is providing as just by itself, but also it can make other units way better by allowing you to get not only the massive color affinity from their special, but also the other buff that they would have provided if you had an existing color affinity. It's just overrideable buffs are just so good in Treasure Cruise. But yeah, just attaching to all Luffy's, all Zoros, and just kids, Laws, of course Kumas as well, Beijis, and then of course Stella. It's just attaching so many amazing characters. It's just easy to proc, reliable, helps you with damage. Just so good support unit. I would love to get this character, bro. So yeah, I definitely consider that. Shirahoshi, the only support ability in the game to provide like half of your units with rainbow orbs through block, and then also allows you to perform super tandem with those rainbow orbs. Irreplaceable unit, just so good, easy to proc. Just on the final stage it will activate, and it attaches to all Luffy characters, all VVs and royalty units. Just so good. Very irreplaceable unit as well. Mr. 3 and Miss Golden Week, all driven and free spread units. I've used this support probably the most in the entire game. On stage 3, the unit just gets 2 turns of cooldown, which is so important for speed farming, but also a 50% damage reduction for 3 turns. So you can use this to get the massive damage from ally damage reduction based attack boosts, and also just to get around enemy deaths. It's just so good. Of course, in shorter form content where there's only 3 battles, this will activate on the final stage, and if the enemy has a death hit, this will be really nice. Also gives the supported character a matching orb. Why not? Attaching to so many units, reliable effect, just always a needed support unit, right? So the last one is Guernica. This one is also just so underrated and just incredible. All world governments, so the 5 elders, emus, the CB0 and CB9 characters, all mythical Zoan types, so all Luffy's gear that have the gear 5 form, ancient Zoan types as well. So many units that get access to the support ability. And then when you get a chain lock or special bind from the enemy, reduces the chain lock by 3 turns, supported character special bind by 3 turns, and then gives you a 3x chain lock. Best chain locker in the entire game as support. No other support that gives a chain lock gets up to 3x. No other chain locking supports have such an easy requirement to proc it. You just need to get special binded, which is very common. And then also just gives the enemy resistance down of -3%, which is really not that, it's pretty negligible. But the 3x chain lock is so good. A lot of cases that'll actually allow you to get around chain minimum attack downs. And as I said, attaching to so many units. So Guernica, massive asset to have. This video is getting really long though, so I'm just not going to talk about all these Kizuna characters. They're not nearly as important as the support rare recruits and the legends. So let's move on to part 3. Gob Kobe, Yamamomo. Yamamomo's a bum. Gob Kobe, amazing legend. Definitely better than part 2 in terms of the Anni exclusives, I would say. But still nowhere near as good as part 1. As I said, Walkyrie and Jupiter, they provide their blow away reduction, which is really unique. Besides that, I would say just Saint Saturn and Mars are better to get. Dory Broggy still really good for the strength Superboss. Not really used in Rumble though. Overall, just not a crazy unit outside of Superboss, I would say. Jenny, pretty bad unit. Robin and I was gonna say Kobe. Robin and Chopper. Once again, a merchant of just providing one buff, unless you have that overrideable boost. Very similar to Nami and Sanji. Not a very good character in my opinion. Sai Leo, horrible. S Snake, pretty bad. Van Ogre, way better than Devon. Definitely a massive asset. Frankie, really amazing on the Superboss for strength. Has the best type of last tap ability in the entire game. Really good. Yeah, getting dupes for him is really important. Just getting him in general is really nice. This Nami, I would say, is not nearly as good as the Yamato and Otama, but still a great special overall, great sub. Vegapunk, worst regular legend of the year last year, horrible unit. Usopp and Lilith, absolutely necessary unit, but will be given out for free from the selectable mail, so not considering that. Carrot and the Sulongs, horrible unit. Moria Perona, conditional boost merchants, but way better than Dofi and Sugar because they also provide burn and special bind utility in their special. Oh wait, no, bind and burn. So great unit for giving a self-proccing conditional boost that goes through immunities and then also providing utility. I think they're not a terrible unit whatsoever. They also are cerebral, so they can go on a lot of teams. Issue and Fujitora, horrible unit. Queen, amazing unit. Captain Action, run double Queen. You are immune to despair. Those queens will be able to go through all enemy defensive effects and also defense up. And also the special that this unit has is really good, especially if there's no normal attacks only, which is not very common, I guess. But just generally, full ward of tandem mobs to the block, defense up and threshold by 6 turns, a color affinity, and also an enemy conditional attack boost based on increased damage taken. Also massive resistance down. Really good character, heavily underrated. Can't say the same for Killer, horrible unit. Black Maria, one of the best Sailor abilities in the game, but yeah, besides that, horrible units are not worth running either way. Strength Dex Quick Merchant, and even then she's not doing any type of utility. Lucci, great for Grand Voyage. 6+ form is amazing in Pirate Rumble as well for Dex team, amazing DPS. So a really good character, especially getting dupes for that level limit break. When it comes to the support rare recruits, it's definitely better than part 1, I'd say. The highlights here are definitely Bao Huang and Brule. Both of these characters I've used so much since paralysis orbs were introduced in the game. This Bao Huang just became unbelievably good because, of course, when the enemy changes your orbs into paralysis, that is counted as an orb change. So this Bao Huang will activate, and also she attaches to so many units, all strength and quick units that have the driven class. And just it's going to give a straight up 60% damage reduction. So of course it can help you fulfill the conditions for the damage reduction based attack boost, survive death hits, but then also will reduce paralysis by a turn. Now there's very key detail here is that when the enemy gives you paralysis orbs, reducing paralysis by any way, like even one turn of it, will change the paralysis orbs into matching type orbs. However, support effects that activate when the enemy gives you paralysis will not activate when the enemy gives you paralysis orbs. So usually you'd have to use a special to get around that paralysis orbs. But Bao Huang is a unique case in the fact that she doesn't proc when the enemy gives you paralysis. She procs when the enemy changes your orbs. So she will always change paralysis orbs into matching when you're inflicted with it. Also reduce bind, and also these special limit uses debuff by a turn. Just Such an amazing support ability. Really valuable unit to have. Brule, don't have to say anything here. That's just all Luffy's, Nami's, Choppers, Carrots, and Katakuris. And it will give you all of your matching orbs. I mean, all of your block orbs change to matching. Gives the supported unit 2 turns of cooldown, a matching orb, and a heal. The fact that it just changes everyone's block orbs into matching is just very much unique, one of a kind, attaches to so many units. It's very easy to proc whenever you reach the final stage. The 2 turns of cooldown is very important in a lot of content, especially for speed farming. Yeah, definitely those 2 are the most valuable. Snake, not terrible, but definitely one of the weaker ones. Does provide an advantageous class effect buff, but it's only by 1.2x. And it's only to slash and shooters, so it's definitely not that powerful. It's only reducing defense up by a turn, and you need the captain to be the supported character to be the captain, which is just really difficult. It does give you a tandem orb through super block, which is very interesting, but yeah, very hard to use, even though it's attaching to a lot of amazing characters. Just not a required support by any means. Omae, I'd say it fits into the same camp as the Kobe and Alvida, just very niche, but at the end of the day, it is attaching to all Usopp's, Choppers, Shang, Stories, and Broggies. It's just a straight up 2 turn of bind reduction upon being inflicted with it. It does reduce crew HP by 20%, which allows you to get around the stun debuff, and allows you to perform super tandem with int and recovery orbs, and reduces the switch effect gauge by 2 switches when you get inflicted with this bind. Definitely not nearly as niche as the Kobe and Alvida. It gets around stun, it gets around bind, it gives you 2 switch effect gauge charges, which is really good, and then also just giving the ability to perform super tandem with those orbs is just really powerful. Yeah, definitely just a really solid support overall, but not nearly as important as like Brule or Bao Huang, I would say. And then we have Bellamy, was supposed to be used with that quick Legend Doflamingo on part 1. If you use a special, changes supported character's slot to G and reduces all enemies' defense up by 3 turns. If you land 2 perfect strikes in this turn, then allows your color affinities to be buffed twice in the next turn. So yeah, it's a bit niche, and it only attaches to Don Quixote pirates, so a small pool of units. G orbs, if you don't know, are they can be changed by the enemy, but a lot of the time enemies orb based damage reduction will not affect G orbs. So G orbs have their uses, but they're only a 1.5x increase in damage, unlike matching orbs, which are 2x. So G orbs, they have their pros and cons, but there are characters like Nami and Karina who provide them, and then also change their attack boosting multiplier from 1.5x to 2.25x. So yeah, G orbs not bad, but it's quite mediocre orb manipulation. The defense up is great, but as I said, very niche. The color affinity, being able to be buffed twice in the following turn, very mediocre in my opinion. Just not a required unit whatsoever. So overall, I'd just say part 2. Part 2, if you don't have Zoro versus Nistro, part 1 for sure. I'm just gonna say that if you have Zoro versus Nistro, part 1. If you don't have them, I mean, if you don't have Zoro versus Nistro, part 1. If you have them, part 2. Don't go for part 3. Part 2 is just so stacked on the supporter recruits. The characters in general available are amazing. Part 1 is just really solid overall, even besides the Zoro versus Nistro. Part 3 is a bit of a hit or miss in my opinion. So that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, ask them down below. With all that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, and I'm out.